Hello, everybody, and welcome to the third episode of the Search Report podcast. I'm joined here today with my father and co-host Rob.
Hi, everyone.
And so for our first few episodes, we're going to be focusing on just basic internet marketing 101 stuff that all business owners really should be focusing on to get their online presence going. On our last episode, our second episode, we went over some website stuff for people to get going. So now with this one, we're going to dive a little bit more into SEO stuff. We touched a little bit about SEO in the last podcast, some basic stuff that people can do. But now this one, we're going to dive more into it. I'm going to pass it off to my dad, Rob, here, since he's the SEO expert, been doing it for 15 years, so he really knows his stuff. So Dad, why don't you give us some information on some basic SEO stuff?
Alrighty. Well, I'll start with the definition of SEO in case anybody's wondering. SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization, which means optimizing your website so it performs well in Google and the other search engines. There's kind of many steps to SEO, so I'll go over the basic ones with you so you understand, what it is and why it's important. So with as you know, when you do a search in Google, you type in keywords to find the business you're looking for, and you may or may not know the name of the business. Most of the time you don't, so you'll search for the service you want or the product you're looking for. So if it's plumbers in Vancouver, you're going to search plumbers in Vancouver, or find me the best plumber in Vancouver, or just something along those lines. There could be thousands and thousands of plumbers in Vancouver, and you don't know who the best one is, so you're assuming Google will give that to you. Well, that isn't actually necessarily the case. The one that shows up at the top is the one who's doing the most effective SEO. That's how Google chooses the sites that rank at the top. Not by if they're the best or not, or if they've been in business the longest or not, or they have the most employees. It's the business that does the most effective SEO to get there. That's what I do. That's what I've been doing for 15 years. So the first step, of course, with SEO is trying to figure out what those keywords are that people are going to search for to find your business. Now, there's lots of tools out there to help people do that. One of my favorites is it's by Google. It's called the Google AdWords tool. You can go to it by just you can type in your address bar, google.com/AdWords. You will need a Google account to use the tool, but the Google account's free to sign up for. So if you've got a Gmail already, you can use your Gmail account to log into it. If not, I think they prompt you to create an account at the time, which is it's a free account. So once you're logged into Google AdWords, at the top in the navigation, I'm kind of doing this from memory, I don't have my computer in front of me, there's a tools bar, and in the tools is a tool called a keyword planner. So the keyword planner is actually where you're going to go to do your keyword research. Now the nice thing with the Google tool is you don't necessarily need to know what people are searching for. What you're going to do is in the keyword suggestion box is type in the words you think people would use to find your business. And then when you hit the submit button and give it a few seconds, Google will present you with a list of choices of actual searches done by actual people and the volume of those searches on a little bar and how competitive how competitive they are. Now this tool will return the results more for ads. So these are the ads you see at the top on the right, but it gives you a really good starting point because if those are the keywords where ads are showing up for, they're also the keywords that people are using to find products and services. So you can use those as a really good starting point for optimizing your website. So what you want to do is put in the keywords it'll give you a list back. You can then export the list to a spreadsheet if you want, and then sort through and find the ones you think are most relevant to your website. So once you've got your keywords chosen, I wouldn't necessarily go too many. It's going to depend on how big your website is. Most websites are 5 to 10 pages, so you probably want to stick to the first 10 to 20 phrases, the ones that are most relevant to you. And what you want to do is work those phrases into the content of your website. That's kind of the first step. Figure out what those phrases are and then add them to your pages so that your pages become more relevant for those phrases when people are doing searches. And as we touched on in the last podcast, you'll want to, if you're using WordPress or any other content management system or really any website, you want to find a plugin if it's available. In WordPress, there's one called Yoast. It's just one of dozens out there that allow you to do search engine optimization for your website. Yoast is the one I like to use. So if you download that plugin and install it in WordPress, you'll have the option to add page titles and descriptions. These are kind of the invisible tags that you can't see when you're looking at a website. But for example, if you do a search in Google and the blue link you click on, that's generally the title that's in that tag. And the text underneath is generally the text you find in that hidden description tag. So what Yoast allows you to do, and all these other SEO plugins, is put in custom tags for your title and your description. And so what you want to do is take those keywords you've researched and you're going to put in those keywords into the tags on the pages where you've added the content. So for example, if it's plumbers in Vancouver and you put that on your homepage, looking for one of the best plumbers in Vancouver, call it today. Now, actually, that could be your title tag. You're looking for a plumber in Vancouver, give us a call today. There you go. There's your title tag. And then in your description, you can say, we're one of the many plumbers in Vancouver. We've been in business for 25 years. We're, BBB plus A rated, whatever. And then click here to call us. There you go. You've just optimized your homepage. That's as simple as it is for optimizing your website. Go through and do the same for all your other pages. And then that's the first step. You've done your keyword research and you've optimized your web pages. That's the core of SEO right there.
Okay, so I know that there's obviously when you go and you hire a professional SEO firm to handle your SEO for your website and you're not doing it yourself, there's like weekly, monthly upkeep, right?
Yep. Yes.
There's all sorts of things like that. So it doesn't really stop after you just optimize your pages, does it?
No, and that's the thing. That's why I say that's the very first step of optimizing your website is doing that keyword research and putting those keywords into your pages and into those hidden tags on your pages to help make that page more relevant in the search engine's eyes for that search phrase. But like Christian says, it is a monthly process, and the second step is actually the ongoing stuff, and that's called link building. That's where you get other websites to link to your website. And why that is important is because when Google came out, the guys who founded Google figured out a really novel way to rank web pages was based on how many links the site had pointing to it. It was revolutionary when it happened. It was not something anybody else was doing at the time. And it did actually show a much greater correlation to quality. Because, if you look at it from the point of view of a website owner, let's say I'm a blogger and there's a business I really like, so I'm going to write about it and I'm going to put a link to their website for my website. So that link is like a vote for your website. So, you think about an election, the person with the most votes wins the election. It's kind of the same thing with search engine rankings in a very general term. In general sense, the site with the most links that are related to that website or relevant to that website is a site that ranks the highest. Now, of course, there's lots of other factors involved. You can't just go out and get 10,000 links to your website in a month and expect to rank number one all of a sudden. That actually will probably cause you more harm than good. So that's why we do like this monthly ongoing link building program we offer for our clients, so that we get you the right number of links from the right sites on a monthly basis, so that we don't set off any red flags with Google, get your site caught in any spam filters because we're doing anything naughty. It's all above board and getting the right links to the right sites. And like I said before, the sites at the top are generally the ones that are doing the most effective SEO. That means in general, they're the ones doing the most effective link building.
Right. So really then just constant business development is key. You want to be reaching out to as many different websites and blogs and vloggers and people related to what you do as possible to try and get their shout out almost.
Yeah. And, like we touched on in the last podcast, using your Twitter account, using your Facebook account, using your Instagram and Pinterest accounts, using YouTube, using all these other sites out there when you, like for example, like I said, when you say you write a blog post on your website and you share the link on Twitter and you also post it in Facebook. Well, there's a couple more links to your website that you never had before. If you do a video of a project you're working on and put the video on YouTube with a description and a link back to your website, well, there again, that's another link to your website. Now, granted, you can't be doing, a video a day and a blog post a day and everything else because you just can't get that many links from Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. But it does show that it's a good place to start. And then, of course, you want to reach out to even like local business directories in your area. The Chamber of Commerce, if you're a member, see if you can get a link from their directory on your listing. Just other websites, see your friends and family or bloggers, or host a contest. That's another great way to get links to your website. Post a contest on your blog. Say, if you're a painter, using the painter as an example, you give somebody, give people discounts on painting jobs or free paint or something like that. Because then what that does is encourages other websites to share, your contest information along with links back to your website. So all these things are tactics you can use to increase the number of links back to your website, which are totally legitimate with Google.
Right. And I mean, like we touched on the last podcast a little bit there, it's crazy how all these different things like web development and SEO for sure, and even social media, they all work hand in hand. They're all kind of merging together as just internet marketing in general. You know, it's almost like SEO isn't going to be just SEO one day. It's going to be SMO and your website and everything all in one. Like, what are you doing for your whole internet marketing efforts, really?
Oh, exactly. Like when I first started doing out SEO, it was basically just about getting links from other websites, you know, because obviously Facebook and Twitter and those sites weren't around. So we used to use a pattern where we focus on external link building for a couple of months, you know, getting sites from other related websites. But then also, for example, we might for a month look at doing some press releases, because press release sites at the time were really big. So we'd write some articles to post on press release sites, and then we'd switch back to regular link building, and then maybe throw up a few more press releases, and maybe find a few directories to submit to one month. So it was always kind of a planned thing, but it was over, you know, we do regular link building month 1, press releases month 2, directory building month 3, and so on and so forth. Well, you can't do that these days because Google watches everything, and it knows if you're it's against the rules to try to artificially inflate your link popularity in Google, but Google also is built on links, so you kind of have to do it in order to get good rankings, but you have to do it in such a way that Google's not going to see that you're doing it. So it's kind of a funny system.
Yeah, you have to just do it like really organically then, almost.
Well, that's why it's called organic link building.
Yeah.
Search engine optimization is organic search engine marketing, basically. And yes, so what you need to do is basically make it look as natural as possible over enough period of time, because Google does use history as a ranking factor. So when I said earlier about getting 10,000 links 1 month, well, Google's going to look at your history and say, okay, you got 5 links here, you got 10 links here, you got 2 links here, and then you got 10,000. That's not consistent with your history. So we're going to devalue 9,997 of those links because they don't have, obviously you did something to try to influence us. So we're just going to ignore a whole bunch of those links. So that's why you need to do consistency, and you can increase over time for sure, but it's got to be over time. It's got to be a gradual increase and no big jumps here or there, because Google will tend to penalize you for that. Now, speaking of that though, if say something newsworthy does happen, say you had a month where you gave away a car. Your business gave away a car, so you got lots of press for it. Well, Google understands that, so they're not going to penalize you for that, because they know, again, the press sites and the bloggers and stuff who will be involved in those sorts of things. So they're not going to penalize you for them, but they do see stuff like that, and they kind of watch for it.
Right, yeah, that's another big thing, I guess, that people don't really think about. Google will penalize you. They'll knock you down a few pages and say, sorry, you got to work your way back up.
Yeah, and actually that's always been a big controversy in our industry over the years, is what's called negative SEO. Say you're doing such a good job of your SEO that you're number one for everything you ever want to be found for. Your competition's going to say, well, crap, we're never going to beat him. So let's turn around and try to knock him down. So we're going to flood the internet with thousands of links a month pointing to your website. And that, it worked for a little while, because there was sites that for no apparent reason would just disappear. But again, Google caught on to that because they can see where all these links are coming from. They know the bad neighborhoods where links are coming from, and if all of a sudden your website starts getting links from bad neighborhoods, then Google can figure out, kind of go, okay, well, somebody out there is trying to do something to this guy, so we're not going to penalize them for that. But they used to do that. That's why it was called negative SEO, because your competition could go and get your rankings lowered by doing things they knew were bad.
Right, and negative SEO, that's also, it could be the same thing as like black hat SEO too.
Black hat is a different breed altogether. Black hat's using all kinds of different tactics to get links to websites. Like, if you've ever heard about hacked websites, or you've gone in your browser and you've clicked on a link and your browser tells you this site may host malicious software, that's usually a result of black hat SEO, where somebody's hacked into a website or found a flaw in a website code and used it to exploit the website and then post links to back to their clients, that sort of thing. That's more along the lines of black hat SEO. What I'm talking about is more negative, where your competition just goes out and it'd be like, posting bad reviews about your business. Your competitors on your, on Yelp or whatever, and posting a whole bunch of negative reviews about your business just to try to make you look bad.
Okay, but you do white hat SEO then.
Oh yeah, that's all I do. Yeah. No, everything I do is all above board. I did play with a little bit of black hat with my own sites, never anybody else, just my own sites, just to see how it worked, and it actually did get one of my sites penalized pretty severely doing it. But I learned a lot, actually. I did learn a lot. I learned where Google's thresholds are. I learned what line I can walk up to without crossing. So it did make me more effective as an SEO expert than not trying at all. Like it actually, it's surprising, but there's a lot of tactics out there that supposed white hat SEOs are using that are not good. They haven't been caught yet. Like, for example, submitting themselves to a directory that uses, that posts directory pages on all their clients' websites. So, for example, when you sign up with this website, they say, yeah, we'll charge you $199, and you got to put these 3 web pages on your website, and in exchange, you'll get 10,000 links. Well, but what you also don't know is on those 3 web pages you host on your site, you're also hosting links to a whole bunch of other sites. So it's like a giant link network or a link farm, and those are illegal in Google's eyes. So eventually, you're going to get caught, and you're going to get penalized for them.
Okay. Yeah, and that's why, well, you really know what you're talking about when it comes to this stuff. And I mean, I feel like what's been going on a lot in the SEO world, I've been looking at a few SEO experts, quote unquote, these guys who really just got into it in like the last 5 years. They really don't know what they're doing. And I mean, I've told you about a few people I know that are my age. I won't name any names, but they're going around claiming to be internet marketing experts, SEO experts, and they're not.
No, that's why it's funny when I hear about universities and colleges teaching search engine optimization programs, because I've talked to a few students taking these courses, and like by the time they get out of school, even if it's a 3-month program, everything they've learned is it's antique, it's out of date. I was talking to somebody at a party a while back, at a friend's party, and she was telling me all the things they were using. It's like, no, that doesn't work anymore. Well, what about this? No, that doesn't work anymore. Well, this is what the professor said. It's like, no, that's going to get you penalized. Sorry, it's not going to work. So, yeah, I know all these younger people who come out and they read a few books, and they're members of a few forums, and they think they know what's going on, but in my experience, they don't. It takes a long time to understand the industry and understand what's being said, and even from Google's point of view, when Google puts out an update and they tell you what the update's about, you really can't always trust what they're saying is 100% the truth. You got to read between the lines a lot, so you need to understand the culture of the industry to understand what's really going on.
Right, yeah, it seems like you just have to live it, for sure. Because, I mean, like, when you got into it, right, I mean, like, earlier we were talking about how social media, Facebook, Twitter, all these different sites, YouTube, impact your SEO, but when you got into it 15 years ago, YouTube wasn't a thing. Of course, neither was Facebook, neither was Twitter, and yeah, like we talked about in our first podcast, you didn't even come into it to be an SEO guy. You were just a network admin, and you fell into SEO.
Yeah, yeah, and like I said, that it was the early days of the internet. Even though the internet had been around for a while, and we've already been through the .com boom and bust by then, more or less, it was still fairly early days, and a lot of the technology we have now, like there was no mobile device searches, there was no YouTube. I mean, everything was done a lot more manually back then. Like websites were built more manually. I remember a friend of mine, I was thinking about the other night, we started blogging before there was blogs. We didn't know what we were doing. We were just sharing gaming information on a website, and it was a manual process. We'd have to go in, download the homepage, post the update to the page, save it, FTP it back up to the web server, write the page, hand code the page you wanted to actually post the article on, upload that to the server. It was all a very manual process. So even that, I mean, I started blogging before anybody even knew what blogging was. I didn't know what it was at the time either. It's one of those things we were doing for fun, and then I realized later on how important it was for SEO.
Right, and then, of course, I think it was Evan Williams that came out with Blogger, and then Google bought Blogger, and then it was just, of course, you realize, now we're going to have a big, huge blogging explosion.
Yeah, and actually, that's the thing. Part of the reason Google bought Blogger is because it's a free service that can offer people blogs, but it become another tool that's being exploited by SEOs where, if you want to link back from blogger.com, you go self-host a blog on Blogger, you write a few articles with keyword links on them, and boom, you've got links from Blogger. So Google realizes that now, and they devalue links from Blogger because they're used for spam. It's just what it is. I mean, it was a good start. Blogger was a great idea, but SEOs who got into the game early realized the value of Blogger from an SEO perspective, and so they started using it. Now everybody does it, and so Google says, well, no, you can't do that anymore. It's not, have no value to you.
And then now, of course, we have Twitter, which is essentially a micro-blogging platform, and it's insane to watch the evolution in this industry. And I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I mean, I would ask you, like, hey, Dad, what do you do for work? You'd say SEO or search engine optimization or something. I'd be like, I don't know, I think I was like 7 or 8 years old, just like, what? And now, of course, just with how crazy technology is going, and of course, I've grown up in it. It's insane to look back and see how much has happened. And yeah, now how SEO now it's SEO, it's SMO, it's your website, it's everything.
Oh yeah, SEO. That's the thing. That's your evolution of this industry. Is SEO was always kind of as an SEO, we considered ourselves a walled garden. It was like there was SEO, which was like the on organic stuff. There was the paid stuff, which was like with AdWords and that sort of thing. And the two didn't ever really work together. When you hired us to do work on your website, we usually hired two people. You hired an SEO expert and an SEM, search engine marketing, which was what they called themselves, search engine marketers. And we were at search engine optimization specialists. So even though we're kind of doing the same thing, it was on two different branches of the same thing. We were doing all the organic stuff, getting you found in the free rankings, and they were doing all the paid stuff, getting you found for paid, the same phrases, but in the ads. And then now we have social media optimization experts who work on Facebook and Twitter and all the other social media sites, and they don't know anything about SEO or SEM, but in reality, it's all the same thing. You can have different people doing different parts of it, but it all goes towards your Google rankings in the end.
But yeah, I mean, of course, we talked a little bit about SEO experts, but yeah, now of course with social media, just go on Twitter, everybody's a social media expert.
Yeah, and I mean, some of them some are really good, but as you know, like some of those so-called experts, they post the same stuff on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. It's like, well, no, the right idea of social media is test each channel, do specials on each channel, find the ones that work the best for you. Don't just blanket everything with the same. It's not effective. SEO is the same thing. When people start, these experts that get in there, they post links on all the different websites, but it's the same link, the same text, just on 100 or 1,000 different websites. That's not the best, most effective use of link building for SEO. Your really good link builders know that each link is unique and should be treated as such, and each site that it comes from, the link has to be relevant to that site, but also to your site. So the text surrounding that link is also important. It's not just a matter of posting a bunch of links to your website. It's there's an art to it. There's a real art to it.
Yeah, and of course with link building, I mean, I think you were telling me once you built your own link building system, didn't you? Do you keep it secret?
Oh yeah, the core of my business is link building. It should be the core of any SEO business. Any SEO who tells you they don't do link building, you don't want to work with them, because link building, like I said, link building is the core to Google's PageRank algorithm. PageRank is the core to Google. So therefore, links are the core of Google's ranking algorithm. You need links to your website. Our secret sauce changes on a monthly basis, sometimes weekly. It has to. We respond to what Google's algorithm changes are doing, and trust me, it is getting trickier to do, because we talked about RankBrain in one of our podcasts, Google's latest ranking tool, where it trains itself. The algorithm trains itself how to rank pages, and it's getting better at it. So it makes our jobs a little bit harder. Now, it doesn't mean the links aren't important. It just means that some of those links are not as valuable as they once were. Some are more important. So it's always tweaking that secret sauce to find the right balance of, directories and blog posts and one-way links and two-way links and link exchanges and press releases and everything else. It's constantly updating, changing thing.
So much. I can see how it can get really overwhelming for just a single SEO by himself.
Oh yeah, it is. And and the thing is, it's different for every website. It's not like we have one thing we use for every site. Each site gets hand chosen links from individuals from around the world, depending on what your industry is, what your competition's doing, how big your website is, what it's about, what products or services you're selling. Like, it's all, that's the other thing is SEO is not a boilerplate thing. It's not the same program for everybody. It's got to be different for each site, or because you're, like, for example, if you do a certain type of work for a plumber and you try to do the same type of work for an electrician, it's not going to work, because they're different breeds of websites or different breeds of industries. There's certain crossovers, like some directories and stuff, where you can put plumbers and electricians in the same directory, but it's two different types of businesses, that therefore they require two different strategies.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of SEO firms, professional SEO firms, for the lack of a better term, they do that. They have that cookie cutter formula for each business that they work with, and it sucks.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's not the proper way to do it. You need to find the right mix of what works for that industry or that person. And even, like, living here, we live in Kelowna. The city of Kelowna is about 100,000 people, and there's an area called West Kelowna, which is just across the bridge from us, which is probably another 20 to 30,000 people. And so it's geographically close. It's relatively close to us, but what works out there for SEO it's not necessarily works here in Kelowna, and vice versa. It's just that alone, the geographic difference could be enough to really mess with an SEO program.
Really, just across the lake.
yeah, and it's the same thing like Los Angeles or Vancouver, like a big city. It's pretty much impossible to position yourself for something at Vancouver, but you break it down to West Vancouver or Surrey or Langley or one of the suburbs of Vancouver, and then you can be much more successful.
Right, because I guess you have to start thinking about like the mindset, I guess, of the people who are living there. If you live in Langley, you don't live in Vancouver, right? Sure, people in Kelowna and stuff, when we refer to Vancouver, we may be referring to Langley, Surrey, Burnaby, but really it's Langley, so you have to optimize for a business in Langley.
Exactly, and that's actually one thing I tell a lot of my clients, because I do deal with clients in bigger cities, and that's the first thing they say, like, because I do have a lot of clients in Vancouver, and painters and plumbers and electricians and whatever, and it's like, oh, I want to be number one for painters in Vancouver. Well, you're in Surrey. Yeah, I know, but it's like, well, no, like, you're in Surrey. You should focus on Surrey first, then work your way out to Vancouver and West Vancouver and everything. And it's one of the first mistakes a lot of people try to do their own SEO, is they go too big, like, so you sell MP3 players. You don't want to be found for Britney Spears or whatever. Like, you want to be found for MP3 players or whatever. Like, you want to be found for what you do in the area you do it. Don't go too big, because otherwise it's never going to work for you. Start locally if you're a local business, and then work out to other geographic areas or other industries as you start gaining success for where you start. Don't go too big to start.
Right. Yeah, and I think one thing I really like that I heard once is you have to reverse engineer your product and the people that are going to be buying your product, right? You have to really put yourself in their shoes and think, okay, how is this person that has no idea who I am, no idea what my business is, no idea what my product is, how do they find it?
Well, exactly, and that's why, going back to what I said with the Google AdWords tool, is a lot of, again, starting with a lot of clients I work with, especially like engineers and that sort of thing, they'll throw a bunch of technical terms at me, and I'll do keyword research for them, and shoot them back a lot of which almost seem like dumbed down words, and they get all very upset. And it's like, well, no, I understand what you do, but this is what people are searching for. A lot of times they're two different things. That's why with the keyword tool that I suggested earlier, with the Google AdWords tool, you have to, as a business owner, step back and don't focus on what you do, but focus on what people are searching for that might find you, because that's really where it's important. It doesn't matter if you do some type of specialty painting. You can tell that to them when they reach out to you, but they're just looking for a painter. That's what it comes down to. And if you want to limit yourself to this, the painting specialty you do, then fine. Just know that instead of getting 10 calls a month, you're only going to get 1 call a month, because it's only going to be the one guy who knows what you actually do, as opposed to the other 9 that just want a painter.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think we're getting up to about half an hour here on our podcast, and we want to try to keep them down to about 15 minutes. But of course, if we could talk on and on and on for SEO. I mean, just to close us off, I mean, how many different factors are there again? Like, there's over 200 with Google.
There's hundreds of factors, and they change daily.
That's crazy. So yeah, I mean, like I said, we could talk for hours on this, but of course we're not going to. We know you guys are busy, you have things to do. So if you have any questions for my dad, Rob, or for me, if they're SEO, of course, direct them to him, because I don't know a whole bunch. His Twitter is @rsullivan25, and my Twitter is @ChristianRJS. Thank you guys very much for listening. On Monday, we're going to get more into some social media stuff, talk a little bit about that. Dad, do you have anything you want to close off with?
No, like I said, just the biggest thing is, if you're going to do start doing your own search engine optimization, is take a step back and look at what people are actually going to find you for, and don't be offended if it's not exactly what you think your business is about, because it's really, in the end, you want to make money. The best way to make money is to find your customers where they are, not where you are.
Of course. Reverse engineer your customer.
Exactly.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. Have a